So I guess we can start. Salam, welcome to everyone. Welcome to the meeting of the role of parliaments in advancing resilient cities and sustainable urban development. The meeting agenda is aired on the monitor once more for your consideration right now. Every statement is strictly limited up to 5 minutes, as you may already know. And in the end of the meeting, we will read and vote for the brief meeting report as a resolution. We proudly announce that this is the first ever global consultation of parliamentarians on a World Urban Forum 13's Azerbaijan's urban planning experience and overall sustainable urban development. The meeting is attended by more than 30 parliamentarians representing each continent, North, South America, Asia, Europe, Africa, Pacific, and in overall 29 countries. Let me name all of them. It's Azerbaijan, Benin, Bulgaria, Canada, Cambodia, Cameroon, Dominica, Egypt, Ethiopia, Eswatini, Gambia, Indonesia, Iraq, Kenya, Lesotho, Malawi, Namibia, Nepal, Sierra Leone, South Sudan, Suriname, Sweden, Switzerland, Trinidad and Tobago, Ukraine, United Kingdom, Uganda, Zambia, and Zimbabwe. The meeting is organized at the initiative of Honorable Parvana Valieva, Member of Parliament of the Republic of Azerbaijan, and the State Committee on Urban Planning and Architecture of the Republic of Azerbaijan.
Distinguished parliamentarians, honorable colleagues, excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, it is my great honor and privilege to warmly welcome you to this parliamentary discussion held ahead of the 13th session of the World Urban Forum, WUF 13, here in Baku, Azerbaijan. We are deeply honored to host parliamentarians from across the regions and political systems united by a shared understanding that cities are where global challenges converge and where solutions must begin. Your presence today reflects the growing recognition that sustainable urban development, resilient housing systems, and inclusive cities require strong parliamentary leadership. Parliaments play a crucial role in translating global commitments such as the new urban agenda and sustainable development goals into national legislation, budgets, and accountability mechanisms. We are uniquely positioned to ensure that housing is treated not merely as infrastructure, but as a fundamental human right, central to social stability, public health, and economic resilience. Today's discussion offers an important platform for parliamentary dialogue, exchange of best practices, and collection of reflections. Allow me also to express my sincere appreciation to State Committee on Urban Planning and Architecture of the Republic of Azerbaijan and the UN Habitat. All partners who continue to champion the role of parliaments within the global urban agenda. We are proud that Azerbaijan is hosting World Urban Forum 13th session and contributing to this global conversation. Our country views cities as a driver of resilience, innovation, and inclusive growth, and we remain committed to sharing experiences while learning from others. Dear colleagues, let today's discussion be forward-looking and solutions-oriented. Let it strengthen parliamentary cooperation across borders and reinforce our shared commitment to building cities that are safe, inclusive, healthy, and resilient for present and for future generations. I wish you a productive and inspiring discussion, and once again warmly welcome you from Azerbaijan. Thank you.
Thank you very much, and greetings from Dominica. It's morning. It's in the Caribbean. I'm happy to join and be part of this very, very important engagement. So colleagues, I would love to share some lessons and solutions from Dominica. Dominica is an island that that has a small population of indigenous peoples. I am of that heritage. And as a small island developing state, there are certain lessons and solutions I believe that humanity and the rest of the world can benefit from. So, distinguished colleagues, in Dominica, a resilient city and sustainable development are not just academic concepts. They are matters of national survival and indeed parliamentary responsibility. Our experience is shaped by, in recent times, Tropical Storm Erika in 2015 and Hurricane Maria in 2019, and an ongoing climate pressures. And all of this has required us to examine how laws on housing, land use, forestry, and disaster risk either protect our people or expose them to harm. Now, I believe that that experience gives us, Dominica, a practical voice in global discussions on urban resilience and on which is grounded in policy, not abstraction. The first point I need us to consider is that housing policy speaks to building safety, also dignity, and continuity. In Dominica, our post-disaster recovery made it very clear to us that housing policy is indeed a resilience policy. Through our national housing programs and the work of a dedicated Ministry of Housing, Parliament had to confront some key questions. Where should housing be located? What standards should guide the construction? And also, how do we ensure affordability without increasing exposure to risk? So we strengthened our building standards. We had safer site selections, and also we looked at climate resilient designs that became essential, not optional. So colleagues, for developed countries facing housing crisis, Dominica's experience shows that weak regulation increases disaster losses. Informal housing grows more affordability, and where planning fails, informal housing allows for this to continue. And also, resilience begins with enforceable standards backed by legislation. So, fellow parliamentarians, Parliament must ensure that housing policy protect lives first and the markets second. Another very important point to consider in our conversation is the physical planning and land use regulation. Dominica's physical planning framework has been central to managing development in a highly constrained environment. Our planning system recognizes that rivers will flood, slopes will fail, coastal areas will be affected by storm surge and sea level rise. After Hurricane Maria in 2017, the importance of enforcing planning controls, particularly in floodplains and high-risk zones, became undeniable. So colleagues, for developed countries, now reconsidering zoning laws and urban expansion, this offers a clear lesson. Planning laws must be instruments of risk reduction, not merely development approval. So parliamentary colleagues, Parliament plays another critical role by, one, updating planning legislation to reflect the climate risk, also empowering planning authorities to enforce those decisions, and last but not least, resisting the short-term pressures that undermine long-term safety. Colleagues, I would like us to also consider forestry policy as urban protection. In our case, Dominica's forests are not separate from our city. They protect it. Under national forestry legislation and the work of the Forestry, Wildlife and Park Division, which I'm happy to be the minister for, forest reserves and protected areas do a number of things, but most importantly, they regulate water flow into the urban centers. They reduce the landslide risks, and they also protect infrastructure downstream. Following major storm events, it became very clear that deforestation and poor land use upstream directly increase flooding and damage in towns such as our center city, Roseau, and also Portsmouth. So, colleagues, for developed countries now facing watershed failure and urban flooding, Dominica demonstrates that forestry policy is indeed urban policy. So, parliamentarians, colleagues, our parliaments must therefore protect forest reserves through law. Secondly, regulate extraction and land conservation, and also treat watersheds as strategic national assets. Another very important point, colleagues, I need us to consider and understand that we have to also look at the disaster risk reduction. And it has to be from the perspective of response to actual prevention. Dominica's approach to disaster management has evolved from response-focused resilience to oriented governance. And so legislation supporting disaster risk management, early warning systems, and institutional coordination, alongside the establishment of a climate resilience executing agency, reflected our Parliament's commitment to prevention rather than repeated recovery. This shift recognized three things. Disaster losses are development losses. Secondly, recovery without reform creates vulnerability. And finally, risk reduction must be mainstream across all sectors of government. So friends, for developed countries now facing escalating disaster costs, this offers a critical lesson. Disaster risk reduction must be embedded in law, in budgets, and also planning, and should not be treated as an emergency function alone. So colleagues, I would like to also share on the indigenous knowledge and the policy integration. And I speak from my own community because I live in the indigenous community, which is a protected reservation for my people. Now my community provides an important example of how indigenous knowledge intersects with modern policy. Land use practices, settlement patterns, and community governance within the territory I live in reflect, one, the respect for terrain and water flow. Secondly, and very importantly, collective responsibility for land. And at the end, strong social networks that enhance recovery. As national development programs extend into my territory, Parliament has a responsibility to ensure that policy frameworks respect our indigenous governance structures and also our ancient knowledge systems. So for other countries who are grappling with how to integrate indigenous communities into urban policy, Dominica demonstrates that inclusion strengthens resilience, and it clearly does not weaken it. So that's a very, very, very important point we should consider. I believe, colleagues, that what Dominica has, and in terms of its policy or its policy experiences, it offers to the global community. And that's why I'm very happy to share this here with you today. And so all of this taken together, Dominica experiences strives to enforce and strengthen the housing regulations, which can be shared globally, the importance of physical planning, the importance of forestry protection, and also disaster risk reduction. So I think that Dominica can show how parliaments can really legislate for resilience in conditions of restraint. Colleagues, these policies are not designed as global models. I think that they now speak directly to the challenges facing cities in developing countries, because we realize that in those developing countries, there is the aging of infrastructure. Sometimes there are climate-driven disasters. There appears to be some housing insecurity, and there appears to be a lot of environmental degradation. So, honorable colleagues, friends, I believe that resilient cities are built through legislation, and this legislation must understand risks. They must understand and appreciate budgets, must prioritize prevention, and also governance must respect the land and nature, and also community. I believe that Dominica's experience, anchored in indigenous knowledge and shaped by repeated climate shocks, demonstrates how parliamentary action can turn vulnerability into resilience. So friends, the responsibility before all parliaments is very clear: to legislate not only for growth, but for survival, not for today, but for generations to come. So colleagues, I believe, in a nutshell, this is what we can offer as a small island developing state, as a country that has a population of indigenous people, and also a country that is on the front line of climate change. At this point, I would like to pause. Stop. Thank you very much.
Diolch yn fawr am y cyfle i'ch enerchu. Thank you very much for the opportunity to address you. My name is Liz Saville Roberts and I am the Member of Parliament for Dwyfor Meirionnydd in North West Wales. Wales has 3 levels of government: the UK Parliament where I sit, our Senedd in Cardiff and 22 local councils. Sustainable communities are of immense importance to all elected representatives in Wales. But first of all, let me tell you something about the challenges and opportunities which face us. Firstly, Wales has the oldest housing stock in Europe, with around a third of homes built before 1919. Much of our housing stock was built in haste to bring workers to the coal mines and slate quarries of the 19th century. We like to say that Wales roofed the world with our slates and dug out the coal that powered travel, that carried in its turn social change in its ships and on its railways all around the world. But we're left back home with a post-industrial legacy of coal tips and poor housing, combined with ever greater rainfall and climate change. Wales is very beautiful, with central mountain ranges from Yr Wyddfa to Bannau Brycheiniog, 3 national parks and a fantastic coastline. Tourism is a key industry, but it's brought tensions to the housing market with Airbnb, second homes, and a shortage of affordable homes for local people. All these issues pose challenges across Wales, including those regions where Welsh is still used as a living community language. Connectivity is challenging in a country characterised by mountainous terrain, scattered populations, which make maintaining public transport and digital communications difficult to afford, and an economic model based on the principle of a competitive market and large populations. But we have strategies to cope. Wales has taken significant steps in recent years to develop a more equitable and secure and fair housing system. Under the Renting Homes Wales Act, tenants, now known as contract holders, benefit from some of the longest periods of security in the United Kingdom, including a 6-month no-fault eviction notice period. This framework provides contract holders with a minimum 12-month security of tenure. Wales has also modernised our approach to quality standards in social housing. The Welsh Housing Quality Standard 2023 prioritises decarbonisation, energy efficiency, modern facilities, and addressing risks, hazards to health such as damp and mould. The goal is simple: homes must be safe, affordable to heat and fit for the future. And along with the UK government, schemes to insulate homes and install heat pumps and solar panels and other fittings are ongoing. The Senedd is presently debating the Homelessness and Social Housing Allocation Wales Bill, a landmark piece of legislation aimed at ending homelessness, making it rare, brief and unrepeated. The bill abolishes the priority needs and intentionality tests, strengthens prevention duties and expands the definition of domestic abuse. Taken together, these legislative steps represent real progress, but the scale of the housing crisis demands still more. One of the most pressing issues facing rural and coastal Wales today is the prevalence of second homes and short-term holiday lets. In some communities, local people are being priced out of the housing market entirely. This has profound consequences, not only for affordability and access to housing, but also for the sustainability of the Welsh language as a community language. To respond, Wales has developed a coordinated package of interventions including taxation measures, planning reforms and community-based housing schemes. Local authorities now have the power to apply significant council tax premiums on second homes. Some areas are introducing council tax premiums as high as 200% from April this year, a reflection of the strong local mandate to ensure that housing stock serves local need, not speculative demand. The most innovative work is taking place in Dwyfor, where I live. A pilot there brings together the local council, housing associations and community partners to increase the availability of genuinely affordable homes. Local people in one of Wales's least affordable housing areas have been supported to buy homes in their own communities through tailored home buy schemes. In a historic first, my council, Cyngor Gwynedd, is working to implement the Article 4 planning direction, which will require planning permission to convert a primary residence into a second home or short-term let. This seeks to rebalance the housing availability in areas where second homes now outnumber family homes in many places. Nonetheless, it has to be said that this is being challenged in the courts. So thank you very much for the opportunity to be able to raise just a few of the things that we're doing in Wales. I hope you have a really successful forum, and I hope that the opportunity to share ideas is beneficial and that we can all help each other. Diolch yn fawr iawn. Thank you very much.
We view Azerbaijan hosting the WOOF 13 not merely as an event, but as a crucial milestone for global unity on urban future. We are keen to learn from Azerbaijan experience and preparation. We hope WOOF 13 will powerfully reinforce the message of sustainable urbanization is fundamental to achieve peace, prosperity, and planetary health. We believe international parliamentary dialogue such as this meeting is essential. It allows us to share lessons, forge partnership, strengthen our collective resolve, and therefore we are looking to WOOF 13, and I also would like to call for a reinforced global partnership that prioritize technology and knowledge transfer, especially to support developing nations in building smart and resilient cities, to increase climate financing for urban adaptation and green infrastructure, and our unwavering focus on social equity, ensuring that urban development benefit all citizens, particularly the most vulnerable. Once again, I thank the Parliament of the Republic of Azerbaijan for its leadership and extend my best wish for success of WOOF 13, and I'm confident that through continued dialogue and cooperation, we can build the sustainable, resilient, and inclusive urban future for our citizens. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Madam Chair, for the kind invitation to UNDP to join this eminent event on the role of parliamentarians in advancing resilient cities and sustainable urban development today, and to benefit from a spectrum of erudite perspectives articulated by parliamentarians representing a cross-section of regions, countries, and communities. Let me begin by recalling the UN Secretary General's pithy observation that the battle for sustainable development will be won or lost in cities. In line with this, UNDP is extremely pleased to endorse the call to action emerging from the deliberations today. The priorities and needs identified resonate strongly and fully align with UNDP's identification of the pressing gaps, needs, and demands to inform pathways towards sustainable urban development. The profile of humanity, we know, is already urban and is projected to become more so over coming years and decades. This means that there will be a concentration of development needs as well as the confluence of risks of various typologies in our urban areas. It also means that our pursuit of sustainable and resilient urban development must increasingly recognize the existing needs and emerging priorities at the city level. UNDP has undertaken an in-depth analysis of the investments made in urban resilience over the past decades. And please allow me to flag a few of the salient findings and strategic imperatives to help inform the deliberations today, with the conviction that the parliamentarians can truly play a catalytic role in flipping the paradigm going ahead. One, we notice a disconnect between global and national development policies and plans on one hand, and their manifestation or application at the city and the municipal level. This means that we need to overcome the siloed sectoral development planning and budgeting processes to foster a coherent and synergistic planning to look at sustainable urban development, not just from a physical infrastructure development perspective, but also from an environmental and socioeconomic lens. Greater effort clearly needs to be invested to ensure a closer alignment between global, national, and city-level development aspirations and their impact on the ground, as has been recognized very well in the call to action, and parliamentarians can surely play a crucial role in this regard. Two, more proactive engagement in and contribution from the parliamentarians to inform and influence the global development discourse by articulating the priorities and perspectives from the subnational or local level. More often than not, we see that the development discussion at the global level gets concentrated at the needs from a global, regional, and national perspective only, while tending to miss the ground level realities and context where it matters the most and where it actually hits the ground. So parliamentarians can ensure due reflection of the voices from urban areas and their city communities through their national engagement in these global fora. Three, operationalizing housing as a basic human right. We see that along with many other fundamental rights, which are recognized at the global and many of our national levels, housing is not one among them across the board. This means that we need to provide practical solutions for climate resilient transformation of informal settlements, specifically through risk-informed land use zoning, with a view to translate the right to housing into safe physical realities. It aligns very well with the call to action iteration of resilient housing solutions for informal settlements and low-income groups. Four, innovative financing for investments in sustainable and resilient urban development. In order to bridge the funding gap, UNDP has been facilitating engagement across sectors and stakeholders to complement the governmental budgetary and financial allocations. This includes orienting national policies, laws, regulations, and frameworks to incentivize private sector, including the need to create avenues for a more streamlined processes for engaging philanthropies, corporate social responsibility related funds, and other institutions for being deployed to secure a resilient urban futures. This aligns again with the call to action focus on engaging local authorities and communities in inclusive, people-centered decision-making, as also on integrating sustainable development into budgetary frameworks. Finally, a need for the parliamentarians to relook at the spectrum of national and sectoral laws to imbue a much greater focus and orientation on urban systems and development outcomes. It is often experienced that many of the extant legislations at the national level are, what can be termed as urban blind. It is assumed that somehow many of those laws will find some contextual relevance in an urban context and will be able to meet their peculiar needs and priorities. However, imbuing a more conscious and deliberate urban orientation into those laws will ensure their effective application and help realize sustainability objectives. As a global organization with extensive policy and programmatic footprint, UNDP is fully aligned with the focus around promoting global platforms for dialogue and building partnerships across regions as per the call to action. With this, happy to note the action-oriented call to action and reiterate UNDP's commitment to support countries and cities and complement their endeavors towards advancing resilient cities and sustainable urban development. Thank you again for the opportunity to speak to you.
Greetings from the Kingdom of Eswatini, and thank you very much to the government of Azerbaijan for convening this meeting. And special thanks to our Honorable Pavana for ensuring that we're invited to this meeting. Colleagues, allow me to begin by acknowledging the pressing challenges that confront our cities today across the globe and indeed here in the Kingdom of Eswatini. Rapid urbanization has placed enormous strain on housing infrastructure and land use. We see overcrowding, informal settlements, and communities increasingly vulnerable to climate-related risks such as flooding. These realities remind us that without deliberate planning and strong governance, our cities risk becoming unsustainable, deepening inequality and failing to meet the needs of our people. The role of our parliament, like Eswatini, we are committed to charting a different course, one that aligns with the Sustainable Development Goals, particularly SDG 11 on sustainable cities and communities. Parliament plays a central role in this journey, guided by our vision to be efficient, transparent, and accessible parliament of the people. We thrive to ensure shared national growth and prosperity by playing a critical watchdog and enabler role in ensuring that urban growth is not just fast, but resilient, meaning that all our cities can withstand climate shocks and support a growing population. As of 2024, our 12th Parliament is operating under the Nkwe or Agility Mandate, which fast-tracks sustainable development to reach first world status by 2030. Here is the breakdown of its specific roles. 1, the legislative framework. Our parliament is responsible for creating the rules of the game for urban planners and developers. We have the Climate Change Bill 2025-2026. This is a landmark piece of legislation currently central to the parliamentary agenda. It moves climate action from a policy suggestion to a binding legal obligation, requiring urban councils to incorporate climate resilience like flood defenses and heat resistance infrastructure into their own town planning. Urban Government and Planning Acts, Parliament reviews and updates colonial era laws and bylaws to allow for climate-smart town planning. This includes regulation on building on wetlands, waste management, and the protection of urban green spaces. Sustainable resource management, enacting laws that protect water sources and energy grids, especially for the green growth trajectory outlined in our National Development Plan 2023-2028. Secondly, oversight and accountability. Parliament ensures that the executive delivers on its promises through the Ministry of Housing and Urban Development Portfolio Committee, through our budgetary power, and also the SDG monitoring. In the late 2024, our parliament underwent a self-assessment against Commonwealth standards to better align our work with SDG 11, which speaks to sustainable cities and communities. Thirdly, representation. Eswatini's unique monarchical democracy means parliament bridges the gap between traditional governance and modern urban needs. Our Tinkhundla connectivity, parliamentarians represent their local constituencies as their primary links between urban residents and central government. bringing local issues like urban sprawl or slum prevention to the floor of the House of Parliament. Sibaya submission, which is our national dialogue, following our 2023 dialogue, our parliament was tasked by His Majesty King Mswati III to implement the people's desires for better service delivery and poverty eradication in urban centers or cities, to build resilient and sustainable cities that do not just survive, but thrive under pressure. Eswatini continues to focus on 4 interconnected pillars, which is 1, environmental and infrastructural resilience, social equity and human resilience, economic vitality, and 4thly, institutional and governance resilience. The path forward, looking ahead, the solutions are clear. We must update legislation to promote efficient land use and affordable housing, while ensuring that infrastructure is designed to withstand climate shocks. Parliament will continue to lobby for projects that mitigate risk, such as flooding. We will exercise our oversight role to guarantee that resources are directed towards sustainable development priorities. At the same time, we recognize the importance of partnerships. By engaging with international organizations and learning from our counterparts like yourselves in other countries, we can secure funding and share best practices that strengthen our capacity to build resilient, inclusive, and sustainable cities. In doing so, the Parliament of Eswatini does not only advance our national development, but also contributes meaningfully to the global effort to create urban environments that are safe, equitable, and sustainable for generations to come. Our our call to action, colleagues, the task before us is urgent, but it is also an opportunity. By harnessing the role of parliaments as a driver of legislation, oversight, and advocacy, we can transform our cities into engines of resilience and prosperity. Let us commit here today to build urban spaces that truly reflect the aspirations of our people and values of sustainable development. Thank you very much.
I would firstly like to thank the government of Azerbaijan, the Parliament of Azerbaijan, the UN Habitat for convening this important dialogue as we prepare for the World Urban Forum 13. Our discussion today speaks directly to 2 urgent priorities. 1, identifying key challenges of sustainable urban development, and 2, reaffirming the central role of lawmakers in shaping resilient, inclusive cities. Now, this is the reality of the global south and the African continent. By 2050, nearly 70% of the African population will live in urban areas. What does this mean for countries such as Namibia? It means that our cities will continue to grow faster than our planning systems, infrastructure, and legal frameworks can respond. Now, informal settlements, house backlogs, urban poverty, climate vulnerability, and inequality are not planning failures alone, but they are governance challenges. But then this is where lawmakers matter. And from the perspectives of Namibia and the experience of Namibia, we have learned that sustainable urban development does not only begin with projects, it begins with policy coherence, legislative leadership, and political will. In Namibia, our parliament has played a growing role in aligning national development plans and urban realities, particularly around housing, land access, local government, and accountability. And through parliamentary oversight, we pushed reforms that recognize informal settlements not as illegal spaces, but as communities requiring upgrading service and tenure and security. Our programs such as the Incremental Housing Development Program, Participatory Settlement Upgrading, and Decentralized Local Authority Planning continue to demonstrate that inclusive urbanization is possible when laws enable it. But progress only happens when lawmakers actively exercise their mandate. Therefore, the Global South and for Namibia, we have often seen that Parliament is often sidelined in urban policy discussions, treated as endorsers rather than drivers. This must change. Lawmakers are not spectators for urban transformation. We are the architects of enabling environment. And through lawmaking, we have done budgetary authority ambitions that we have made as Parliament by looking at urban policies without funding. Our political statements are not solutions. So we ensured that our budgetary authority looks into it in our discussions to ensure that our funds align with the planning around urban development. We have oversight and accountability, like I mentioned earlier, but however, most importantly, representation is what has pushed our urban development. Therefore, lawmakers uniquely positioned to bring citizens' voices into urban planning. We have done that by ensuring that we have various community developments and engagements with developers and citizens to ensure that we get the best solutions around housing. Therefore, I then urge that as a Parliament, we must ensure that we have shared lessons, the best practices, the worst practices, and moving forward, what are the legal gaps that we can challenge and reform around urban development? Therefore, these are not isolated challenges, they are systematic issues, and therefore demand parliamentary collaboration, such as the World Urban Forum, that gives us the opportunity to debate parliamentary diplomacy within urban agenda. It is a chance to ensure that global communities translate into national laws. Therefore, as lawmakers, and I say this in conclusion, it is our responsibility to legislate with foresight, to budget with intention, to oversee with courage, and to represent with integrity. And therefore, I would like to wish everyone that is engaging in this very important engagements that we do this with a solidarity in bearing in mind that this is for the citizens. Housing, safety, security, and development is the development of our nations, but most importantly, is the development of our communities and our people. Thank you very much for having me, and thank you for the Republic of Azerbaijan for having this very, very important discussion. Thank you very much.
Sustainable urban development is often described as a balance between economic growth, environmental protection, and social equity, aimed at improving the quality of life today without compromising the interests of the future generations. I agree with that formulation, but I would add this. Sustainability is not an abstract ideal. It must be felt, seen, and lived in our cities. Port of Spain, our capital, is the clearest test of whether we are serious about this approach. Over time, the city of Port of Spain has drifted into becoming a dormitory city, busy during working hours, largely hollowed out after dark, and steadily losing its commercial and cultural vitality. People increasingly avoid coming into town to shop, to do business, or even to just spend time. Parking is difficult, crime and vagrancy create unease, and suburban malls offer convenience and perceived safety that the city no longer does. This is not a failure of the people of Port of Spain. It is a failure of planning, governance, and imagination. I have consistently argued for the greening of the city and for the adoption of smart city concepts, not as technological fads, but as tools to make urban life safer, more efficient, more humane. Yet our legal and regulatory frameworks remain largely archaic. They frustrate mixed-use development, discourage innovation, and slow renewal through outdated approvals, rigid zoning, fragmented institutional authority. Here, parliamentarians can play a vital role in changing the status quo. We're also a port city, yet paradoxically, we have turned our backs on the sea. In many jurisdictions, waterfront are the engines of urban renewal, spaces for walking, leisure, commerce, community life. In Port of Spain, access to the waterfront is limited, underutilized, and disconnected from the daily life of the city. This represents a lost economic opportunity and a lost civic space. Again, parliamentarians can shine a light towards a brighter and better future when discussing key priorities and challenges in sustainable urban development. Climate resilience presents yet another urgent challenge. Every period of heavy rainfall exposes a city's vulnerability to flooding. This is not merely an inconvenience. It is a warning. Climate change will intensify these events. Sustainable urban development requires investment in drainage, green infrastructure, permeable surfaces, and land use planning that recognizes environmental limits rather than ignoring them. Parliamentarians can share practical strategies in communicating climate issues, balancing the need for urgency with the need for a just transition. We must also confront the reality that our national events, particularly Carnival, which is just upon us, have outgrown the physical and logistical capital of the city as it is currently configured. Year after year, the same problems recur. A sustainable city must be able to host its culture safely, efficiently, and with dignity for residents, visitors, and businesses alike. What is needed, therefore, is not piecemeal intervention, but an overhaul with coherent, long-term vision for Port of Spain, grounded in sustainability, resilience, and livability. And this requires modernizing our laws, aligning national and municipal authorities, embracing public-private partnerships where appropriate, and placing people, residents, workers, small businesses at the center of planning. Revitalizing Port of Spain is not nostalgia. It is a national development imperative. A capital city should be a place where people want to go, not pass through or avoid. If we are so serious about sustainable urban development, this is where we must begin. Thank you.
Thank you for this kind invitation. It is an honor to address you today as a representative of Iraqi Council of Representatives. When we speak about resilient cities and sustainable urban development, water scarcity and desertification must be the core of this discussion, particularly in countries experiencing severe climate impacts on environment stress. In Iraq, water scarcity and desertification are no longer purely environment concerns. They have become direct urban challenges, critical issues for food security, factors affecting social stability, and key determinants of cities' ability to survive and grow. Declining water resources, prolonged droughts, and rising temperatures have led to the expansion of desertification, large-scale internal migration from rural areas to cities, enormous pressure on urban infrastructure and basic services, and increasing environment and public health risks in urban areas. This is where the role of parliaments becomes essential through enacting legislation that ensure equitable and sustainable water management, integrating desertification control and climate adaptation into urban planning, and exercising effective oversight over government policies related to the water and the environment. Building resilient cities cannot be achieved without protecting the efficiently managing water resources, investing in sustainable water infrastructure, and supporting urban agriculture and green spaces, and linking urban policies to water and food security. In Iraq, we firmly believe that resilient cities begin with guaranteeing the human right to water and the foundation of life, development, and human dignity. We also emphasize the importance of international parliamentary cooperation, particularly on transboundary water issues and legislative experience sharing, as water scarcity and desertification transcend political borders. In conclusion, as the world enters an era of global water bankruptcy, our response must begin in our cities, where water stress, climate risks, and social pressure converge. Resilient cities are not built by chance. They are built through the laws that protect water resources, budget the priorities sustainability and accountability mechanisms that ensure no community is left behind. Parliaments have decisive role in this transition. We must translate global commitments into binding legislation, oversee responsible water governance, and secure long-term investment in resilient urban infrastructure. The future of our cities and the stability of our societies will depend on the decision we make today, especially in how we control and protect our most vital resource, the water. Thank you very much.
I'm very happy to be here. First of all, thank you very much, dear Parvana, for this really very important and amazing meeting today. And I'm very happy to see our GCAP alumni here. It's so very pleasure that Parvana all give us possibility to do this, and all distinguished parliamentarians all over the world. It's very important to have such a very open talking together. And this is topic for us, one of the most important. For last week, we have the session at the Council of Europe in the Parliamentary Assembly, and it's honor to be the General Rapporteur on the local and regional authorities in PACE. This is very crucial topics to think about future of our cities, to think how to build the city of our future, which will be open, socialized, environmental, and transparent to all of us. And we understanding that the contemporary challenges of globalization, the rapid urbanization, its climate change require thinking of approaches to governance in cities and regions. And for my country, as you know, this is very simultaneously overcoming the consequences of full-scale war, which we have, and shaping a vision of our future. Sustainable urban development is of particular importance as a foundation for recovery, resilience, and of course, at the country long-term growth. Today, cities are not the merely places of residence, but center of, as I say, economic, social, and environmental development. And therefore, resilient and sustainable cities are not just a trend, but a necessity conditions for survival and sustainable development for the state. And the core of priorities for sustainable urban development are first of all, the people-centered process and approaches. The urban environment must be safe, inclusive, environmentally responsible, and accessible. And the experience of my country, it's also essential that cities be resilient to the crisis and prepared to respond to the military, climate-related, and humanitarian and energy challenges which we have now. We have the maybe tomorrow, minus 24 degrees, and we have, as you know, the bombing every day, and we have the big challenges, but we parallel think about our European integration, and we try to do all the best in order to build the strategy of recovery our country and on the principle of build back better. This is principle of green our future, and we have the amazing examples in our country. We have in the central part of Ukraine, the city of Vinnytsia, which created the green course and the green strategy, which integrates in all sphere. It's the energy sufficient, this is green transport, this is uniquely green zones all over this. And I hope that after the war, when this is crazy situation is finished, after Ukraine is winner, we create the country of our future. But I'm very happy, and today I want to thank you, all countries, all of you who with us, who help us, who give us generators, who give us humanitarian supplies, who give and support our animals, support our nature, support every live person. And I'm very happy that parliamentary level build the rules which gives on the democratic values, which give possibility of European future of our country. And I'm sure that we, our parliamentarians representatives, can do all the best for this. And in conclusion, resilient and sustainable cities are the result of political will. And legislative responsibility and international cooperation and the role of parliamentarian is crucial. It is not merely to respond to change, but to anticipate it, shaping a future in which cities are safe, green, and conducive to a high quality of life. Thank you very much and hope see you soon.
So I want to thank all the stakeholders involved and thank them for inviting me to do just 5 minutes presentation. I want to say that my colleague has said it all, but that notwithstanding, when I looked at this, the main topic of the presentation, I thought it was good we present the particularities of Cameroon. Mm-hmm. And I'll start by first and foremost looking at the issue of urbanization. In fact, Cameroon had its independence in 1960. And at the date of independence, 86% of its population lived in the countryside. In other words, only 14% of the population lived in the urban centers. Today, some 60 to 70 years after independence, we have a reverse situation. And with this reversal comes a number of problems related to the issue of urbanization. Hence, the importance of this topic on parliamentarians in advancing, the role of parliamentarians in advancing resilient cities and sustainable development. Because it's a problem, the parliamentarians that we are cannot remain indifferent to this situation. Therefore, our role is just the normal role which some of the other participants have already mentioned. It has to do with trying to come up with legislative reforms on how to, advance resilient cities and maintain sustainable urban development. It has to do with advocacy. It has to do with budget oversight. It has to do with fostering multi-sector collaboration and aligning global commitments with national legislative framework. We see that as members of National Assembly, we champion national urban policy by passing laws for climate resilient buildings, reforming land tenure, because most of the problems we have, as we said, is informal habitat. And most of the time, people build in land which do not belong to them, in risky areas, and with all the attendant negative consequences that this may bring. As a result, now the role of Parliament, we struggle now to come up with laws which can regulate, this spatial, uncomfortable occupation of the land space in the different cities and towns that we find ourselves. We also work in partnership with the UN Habitat to be able to improve, the situation of the living conditions and the resilience of certain cities. We have even got, there's a project on slum upgrading in Cameroon. As far as this whole dimension is concerned, we know that we live in third world, our climate is varying, and as we're carrying out one action, other actions are coming, other problems are surfacing, and this needs constant solution. And as parliamentarians, we do everything possible to address these solutions whenever they arrive. I think so far, these are some of the contributions that we as parliamentarians, we carry out in order to, advance resilient cities and advance sustainable development actions in Cameroon. Thank you very much.
I want to sincerely thank the Parliament of Azerbaijan and more especially Honorable Parvaneh for having this convening possible. I want to congratulate her on behalf of the Speaker, the Right Honorable Speaker of the National Assembly of Cameroon, and they express the best wishes from the Honorable Speaker of National Assembly of Cameroon and also committing the Parliament of Cameroon to the engagement and the discussions that we are having here. And now to say that the role of Parliament in shaping urban sustainable development is very crucial, and members of Parliament have significant stakes in passing laws and overseeing the works of the government, and contributing to policy discussion that directly impact cities, communities. MPs regularly debate and make decisions on local and national development, challenges including issues such as housing, climate change, resilience, and financing. And our presentation has been tailored around the 5 pillars of the new urban agenda. And we're looking at some of the cities in our country, Cameroon, and we took note of one of the cities, Bamenda, which is the regional headquarters of the constituency where I come from. And we're looking at resilient. Why resilient in the city of Bamenda? And we're saying that the city is rapidly growing, and there is housing pressure, and climate change is very evident in the city, and we're looking at the risks that the city is facing now, and we're looking at the flood, landslide, and poor drainage systems, and traffic congestion, and we were now saying that within the 5 pillars of the new urban agenda, the city is engaging in planning because planning and design is one of the 5 pillars of the new urban agenda. And so we're saying that it is better planning will avoid building in risk area, and better planning will protect the green area, the green spaces, and better planning will organize transport routes and safeguard development agenda. And we're looking at, and now within the other pillar of the new urban agenda on implementation, we're looking at the strong leadership in the city. We're seeing that with a strong leadership, the economy of the city will be well developed. And within this context, the Parliament of Cameroon actively participate, because last year we passed the law on the local financing, which is a direct contribution of the Parliament of Cameroon in shaping the urban sustainable development. And we continue, we say this good leadership and governance in the city will ensure good transparent management of government programs and policy. And in Cameroon, one striking thing that the Parliament of Cameroon is central to all government policy is not only at the level of giving oversight the government action from Parliament, but within the implementation of public investment budget in Cameroon. The Parliament of Cameroon is the only institution that is responsible for chairing the committee on the monitoring and evaluation of public investment budget. And so we give our side right down to the community level. We give our side right down to the urban level. We give our side right down to the municipal level. And so the role of members of parliament in championing urban development and resilient city in Cameroon is evident. And the members of parliament of Cameroon are very committed to it. Now I will now hand the floor to my colleague, Honorable Fonguet, who also has some contributions to make. Thank you very much.
I would further thank you, Honorable Parwana Falilia, and the Parliament of Republic of Azerbaijan. Suriname is honored to join this year's World Urban Forum, a gathering that reminds us that the future of humanity will be shaped in our cities. For Suriname, this is not an abstract idea, it's our daily reality. We are a small country with a large coastline. More than 87% of our people living in the low-lying urban areas. Our capital, Paramaribo, and the surrounding districts are increasingly affected by extreme rainfall, rising sea levels, and aging drainage systems that were never designed for today's climate pressures. For us, urban resilience is not a policy choice, it is an extensional necessity. Discuss how Suriname relates to the World Urban Forum, a global platform organized by UN Habit that focuses on sustainable urban development. Although Suriname is not a prominent actor at the World Urban Forum itself, the country is actively working on urban development issues that strongly align with the forum agenda, especially SDG 11, Sustainable Cities and Communities. As we know, the World Urban Forum brings together governments, cities, international organizations, and experts to exchange ideas and urban challenges such as housing, climate change, spatial planning, and inclusion. It's not a decision-making body, but a place where countries share experiences and best practices. Suriname, as a UN member state, it's connected to this process through shared goals and cooperation with UN agencies like UN Habitat. Urban development is especially relevant for Suriname because most of the population lives in and around Paramaribo, the city of Suriname. The city faces challenges such as flooding, aging infrastructure, traffic congestion, housing pressure, and climate vulnerability. These issues make long-term urban planning and resilience essential, exactly the type of challenges discussed at the World Urban Forum. On a regional level, Suriname has participated in and hosted a Caribbean Urban Forum, showing that the country is actively engaged in regional urban dialogue. Suriname also brings something important to this forum, a willingness to innovate. We are a forested nation confronting coastal urban risk, and we are ready to pilot solutions that can benefit our other small states and delta countries facing the similar threats. Colleagues, the theme of this year's forum, Housing the World and Building Resilient Communities, resonates deeply with us. In Suriname, resilient housing is not only about shelter, it's about dignity, safety, and the ability of families to thrive in a challenging climate. Thank you very much for the attention.
Honorable Chair, distinguished parliamentarians and excellencies, and ladies and gentlemen. It is an honor to address this platform on the subject of define not only our present but the future of our people. The role of Parliament in advancing resilience cities and sustainable urban development. Today's cities are home to more than half of the world population. They are engine of economic growth, center innovation, and hopes of opportunities. At the same time, they face many challenges like climate change, rapid urbanization, inequality, housing shortage, environmental degradation, and increasing disaster risks also. The question before us is not the whether cities will grow, but how they will grow and from whom. In this context, parliaments have a decisive responsibility. As in Nepal, as a first responsibility is parliaments shape the legal and policy framework for sustainable urban development. Through legislation, we define land use, housing standards, environmental protection, transportation system, and disaster risk reduction measures. Strong, inclusive, and forward-looking laws ensure that urban growth is planned, climate resistant, and socially without sound legislation. Sustainability remains a slogan rather than a reality. Secondly, Parliament works about the budget allocation, which is support urban infrastructure like roads, water supply, sanitation, funds climate resistance project in flood-prone Tarai and landslide hills area. And Parliament ensure monitoring of urban mega projects and accountability management and construction approval also. And we have a 3 layer of government, local government, province government, and central government. Mainly parliamentarians centrally empower local government, like they're supporting the decentralization in practice, not just in law, enhancing technical capacity for urban planning and engineering also, providing planning intergovernmental financing. Also, capable local governments are backbone of resilient cities. After that, fourth is the parliamentary diplomacy and international cooperation are increasing importance. Urban challenges don't respect national borders. Climate change, migration, and economic shocks affect cities globally. Parliament can foster international cooperation by sharing best practice also, learning from global experience and aligning national legislation with international standards. Through parliamentary networks, we strengthen collective actions for sustainable urban future. And Nepal has a very rich diversity, various climate conditions and altitudes also. We have a Himalayas area, hilly area, and Tarai area also. That's why our country, like Nepal, many developing nation, the challenge is even more urgent. Rapid urbanization combined with the limitation resources and highly natural disaster demands proactive resilience and people-centered urban policies. Then, finally, I conclude my opinion. The path of sustainable urban development is not a marathon we run alone. It is coordinating effort led by people responsibility and with representative. Our future is urban. Let us make sure it is also sustainable. Thank you so much for attention and this opportunity also.
Good afternoon in Azerbaijan and good evening from Indonesia. Honorable chairs, distinguished organizer of the World Urban Forum 13, representative of UN Habitat, fellow parliamentarians, and my dear colleagues from the Global Changemaker Academy joining us via Zoom. Thank you. My name is Eva Mona Lisa, member of the House of Representative of the Republic of Indonesia. I would like to express my sincere appreciation to the organizer for convening this important forum. World Urban Forum 13 provides a vital platform for collective action in addressing today's urban and climate challenges. Parliaments play crucial roles in advising resilience and sustainable cities by shaping forward-looking legislation, ensuring fair and strategic budget allocation, and exercising oversight that puts people at the center of urban development. So, Indonesia's experience show that urban resilience can only be achieved through strong collaboration between nationals and local governments, parliaments, the private sector, and civil society. Resilience cities are not only about the strong infrastructure, but about inclusive communities and long-term sustainability. This forum, together with the presence of global communities such as the GCAP network, reinforces our shared commitment to international cooperation in building cities that are safe, inclusive, and sustainable future for generation. So thank you for this valuable forum and the spirit of global collaboration.